There is a particular kind of certainty that arrives with attraction. It feels like recognition, like the person in front of you is someone your nervous system already knows, even though you have never spoken, even though you know almost nothing about them yet. And the certainty feels important, significant, directional, like it is telling you something true about who this person is and what they could mean to your life. What it is actually telling you, in most cases, is considerably more complicated than that. And understanding the difference between what attraction signals and what it confirms is one of the most useful pieces of self-knowledge available to anyone who has ever confused the intensity of wanting someone with the reality of who they are. Lust is not a single experience. It is a progression, a sequence of neurological and psychological stages, each with its own chemistry, its own distortions, and its own specific risks. And most people move through the early stages without understanding what is happening to them, which is how the feeling that was supposed to be a beginning becomes, instead, a lesson about the gap between desire and discernment. These are the 5 stages, and understanding where you are in them changes everything about the choices you make there. The first stage is initial attraction, and it is the stage most people misunderstand most completely. Something in the environment catches your attention. It could be appearance, a quality of presence, the specific way someone carries themselves in a room, the particular register of their voice. Something registers as significant before your conscious mind has assessed whether it is. And almost immediately, the brain's reward system begins releasing dopamine, not because this person has demonstrated anything about their character, their values, or their capacity for genuine connection, but simply because they have been identified as novel and potentially rewarding. This is the stage where the most important question goes consistently unasked. Am I attracted to who this person actually is, or to the image my mind has begun constructing around them? Because in stage 1, there is almost no real information available. There is appearance. There is an impression. There is the story. The mind has immediately begun writing around the very limited data it has received. And that story is almost always more compelling than any real person could be, because it has been authored by the part of your mind that knows exactly what you want, and that person has been cast in every role you've needed filled. The second stage is infatuation, and this is where the neurological escalation becomes unmistakable. The dopamine system is now running a feedback loop. Every interaction with this person, or even every thought about them, becomes a trigger for another release. The brain has identified them as a source of reward, and is now organizing significant cognitive resources around the pursuit of that reward. Conversations get replayed. Messages get reread. A delayed response arrives at a completely disproportionate emotional cost. A smile from across the room feels like a declaration. Psychologists studying romantic obsession have documented what is happening neurologically in this stage. The neural circuitry active during infatuation bears a remarkable resemblance to the circuitry active during addiction. The object of attraction becomes the object of craving not because they are known and loved, but because the uncertainty of whether the desire will be reciprocated produces a dopamine spike with every ambiguous signal. The chase is not romantic. It is, in neurological terms, a compulsion, and it is being run on the most limited available information, because infatuation does not require knowledge of the person. It requires only their existence and the possibility that they might want you back. If this is landing somewhere in you, take a moment to like the video. It helps more people find conversations like this one. And if understanding the neuroscience beneath your own patterns of attraction is something you want more of, subscribing makes that work possible. The third stage is escalation, and this is the stage where most people's judgment begins to fail them. Most significantly, the desire is no longer new, and it is no longer merely a possibility. It has become a preoccupation. Your thoughts, emotional resources, and behavioral decisions are increasingly organized around this one person. And at this stage, the brain, which is optimizing for desire fulfillment rather than accurate assessment, begins performing the cognitive operations that lead people to decisions they later cannot explain. Red flags get reframed as complexity. Inconsistent behavior gets explained away as circumstance. Your own values and comfort get deprioritized in favor of the one overriding goal the infatuation system has established. Secure the connection. The psychological mechanism here is what researchers call motivated reasoning, the tendency to generate justifications for conclusions that have already been reached emotionally, rather than arriving at conclusions through honest assessment. You already want this. So the mind finds reasons why it is a good idea. It finds evidence of compatibility that may not be there. It interprets ambiguous signals as favorable, and it suppresses the information that would complicate the picture it is building. This is the stage most people never get past. The escalation is intense enough that the choice between the feeling and the assessment is not experienced as a choice at all. The feeling wins without a contest. And what follows is often a relationship that was built at the speed of desire rather than the speed of genuine knowledge, with all the instability that implies. The fourth stage is the reckoning, and it inevitably arrives at whatever point the neurochemical intensity begins to normalize, because it always normalizes. The dopamine spikes that characterize the early stages become less frequent as the novelty diminishes. The uncertainty that was powering the craving resolves, one way or another. And when the chemistry quiets, the person is visible more clearly for the first time. Not the person the infatuation built, the actual person, with their actual communication patterns, their actual way of handling difficulty, their actual capacity for the kind of emotional presence that genuine relationship requires. For many people, this is the stage where the gap between the imagined and the real becomes impossible to ignore. The attraction was entirely genuine. The person they were attracted to was largely constructed. What remains when the construction dissolves is the question of whether there is enough actual compatibility to justify continuing. And for a significant portion of connections that felt electric in the early stages, the honest answer is no. The fifth stage, the one most people never reach, is chosen intimacy. This is not what happens after lust. It is what becomes possible when lust has done its work, the reckoning has been survived, and the choice to continue is made not from compulsion but from genuine knowledge. It is the stage where attraction is real and grounded simultaneously, where the desire is not driving the decision but accompanying it, where you are choosing this person with your full information rather than your elevated chemistry. Here is the paradox that makes all of this so consistently difficult to navigate. The stages of lust feel, from the inside, like the stages of falling in love. The intensity of the early chemistry feels like significance. The preoccupation feels like depth. The craving feels like caring. And because these experiences are so emotionally compelling, the person inside them is genuinely convinced they are experiencing something real, which they are. They are experiencing something very real about their own neurology, their own unmet needs, their own patterns of desire. What they are not yet experiencing is anything accurate about the other person. Lust begins in the nervous system and ends in the imagination. What it becomes after that depends entirely on whether the real person visible only once the chemistry quiets is someone the conscious, informed self would also choose. Most people stop at stage 3, not because they are weak or reckless, but because nobody told them what stage 3 actually was. Think about a connection that felt undeniable at the beginning and ask yourself honestly, how much of what you felt was about them, and how much was about what your mind had built around them. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.